Hi, everyone. I'm Dave.
And I'm Jeremy.
Welcome to our Tech Over Coffee podcast. We're so excited and thankful for Chipola College sponsoring our podcast. And we're here in the main studio on the main campus at Chipola College in Marianna, Florida. And the environment here is outstanding. Eric and his team, they work so hard to help us with this podcast. So we're very thankful. And Chipola, what a great place to talk about business ideas, tech based topics. It's really perfect for our Tech Over Coffee podcast.
Yeah, I mean, to be in such a high-tech studio, come in and talk about technology makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's got like 400 cameras in here, 30 different angles, getting everything just right for us.
And of those 400, I think, how come 399 of them are pointed at you? I mean, I feel kind of
I think
a little
everybody
jelly
knows
here.
why.
Oh, okay.
Everybody knows why.
Okay.
But
So what do you got for us today,
yeah,
David?
so we've got a couple cool things, and I think I'm going to lead off with a little bit of interesting news from the Amazon side of things.
Amazon.
Yeah, so
They used to
big
just
ol'
sell books, you know
Yeah,
that?
you know, they did books and just nothing else really of interest, right? Like, who cares about books?
Can you buy a car on Amazon now?
Um, Probably.
Okay.
I bet you could. You can buy just about anything on
Probably not a
Amazon.
Tesla, though, right? Wouldn't that be kind of
That'd be
anti?
difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know if Amazon accepts Bitcoin yet, and that's
Oh.
that's part of our topics as we get
Yes.
further on, right? So to lead off with Amazon, Jeff Bezos has actually stepped down as CEO, or will be stepping down as CEO, and is transitioning to what was it that he steps moving
I
over
think
to?
executive chairman, so
Yeah,
he's going to
that's right.
stay running the board as the leader of the board, and the CEO reports to the board, but sounds like taking less of an operator, bringing someone, you said from AWS, from
Right.
their cloud-based environment, to kind of be more of the person working with the operations on a daily basis. He'll continue as the visionary and as the, I guess, the chief executive, if
Yeah.
you will, at the board level.
Yeah, you're still going to have Jeff in place, making sure everything is running as it should, right? Because he's been there from the founding. He is the founder, right? Working on like door desks in his offices, saving money. And now it's such a big company with so many different aspects, and he himself is focusing on things like satellites and all sorts of different offerings, right? And to bring in Andy Jassy, who is running AWS, Amazon's web-based services, which is where they have all of their data center technologies and other things that have completely revolutionized the way that Amazon really does their business now, because they really are majority web company now rather than just selling products. That's almost a side thing.
Yeah, it's amazing the reach of Amazon through AWS. Many companies today, even just small little businesses that would have any type of venture locally in their community, might look at AWS as a way to kind of host their offerings, their services. So AWS really is a widespread net. It touches all aspects of the marketplace, and so they have the person who's run that so successfully now step up. That kind of gives a nod to cloud. At times you
Yeah.
think maybe cloud. What is the future of cloud? But that says that cloud might be here to stay.
Oh, definitely. Especially when you have the leader of the big cloud services segment actually come and take over the whole business as a total. So it's a pretty big deal. And it's a big move, I think, for where Amazon's going to be focused, right? Because they are developing out this large network of things, and if they're trying to set up a satellite internet segment, much like SpaceX and Starlink, they're going to need some cloud focusedness, all right?
They will, and it's interesting how these tech firms are becoming so diverse. It seems like in business school, even in our classes, we'll talk about it's important to focus. Find where you
Yeah.
compete best, cost, quality, or both. They're becoming so diverse. It's quite interesting. They're reshaping the business market, and they really, I think you mentioned in a past podcast, Jeremy, they might be creating these new monopolies. I mean,
In a lot of ways.
yeah.
I mean, when you have such a big company, it's funny because you want to focus and become best at one thing, right? But what happens when they get so big that they're the best at all things? And how do you really compete with that? But either way, you've got the top dog kind of taking a step back, not really a step down, right? Because it's kind of a sideways step. It's just less work for him on the Amazon side of things, and then just to focus on these bigger concerns. Because while Amazon is successful here, they are kind of being beat out in the space segment, the rockets and whatnot.
That's right. I mean, is Blue Origin really going to be a big play for Amazon going forward, and for Jeff Bezos? So, right, I guess that's a good point, that he now can focus on these other ventures. Are they going to get into crypto? I mean, what else are they going to do? Are they going
Yeah,
to?
maybe that's such a big thing. And I mean, talking about crypto and Bitcoin, so Elon Musk is going to steal
You
the
got a
show.
coin I could borrow? You got a
Uh,
Bitcoin I could bum off you?
Well, see, that's the thing though. That'd be you could, but it'd be about $43,000.
43,000.
Yeah.
I'm good for it.
Yeah, I believe you, but maybe we should go ask Elon first,
Right,
because
right.
they just bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. Don't really.
1.5 billion.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
about 37,000 whole coins.
Amazing. That was good math on the fly right there.
Yeah, oh
That's
yeah,
impressive.
just got it right up here.
That's right.
Uh,
So you think that Bitcoin, I mean, it just was a few years ago, it was in the low thousands and even in the hundreds, and it had gone up to 20 and dipped back down. How low did it get like last year? Maybe 7, 8, 6?
It was somewhere around there. I think at one point I remember it being like 3 or 4.
Okay, it really
so
dropped. And
It went way low.
that was last year.
I think so, somewhere. Yeah.
What a roller coaster ride.
It goes all over the place. And I mean, at this point, it has had like a significant upturn. You've had a lot more people come in and kind of see it as a realistic market. And sometimes that's required, right? You need a price to go way up and then kind of come back down to reality and then move back up so you can really discover where it is solid at.
Well, Elon does such a great job. Again, we've mentioned he's the Henry Ford of this generation, it seems, or even bigger than that. Henry Ford made really good automobiles, and Elon seems to do everything well, whatever he has an interest in. But the thought of investing in Bitcoin at this time, we kind of had the whole Reddit GameStop, people, Wall Street shorting, and some researchers came out, analysts, and said, who weren't necessarily crypto people, said the blockchain may solve that in the future. So the blockchain is the foundation of crypto, of Bitcoin.
Right.
So Elon to be such a visionary to just say, hey, of this Tesla money, we have billions and billions, almost $1 trillion. I don't know how much cash they have on hand, but that's the value of the company.
They have a large amount of money on hand. I mean, this 1.5 billion. That's
Just a
into
portion,
Bitcoin.
but that was a solid statement.
Right. Yeah, it's a big statement. It's saying that I believe in this system and I think it will work. And it makes a lot of sense because you have these big transactions that maybe, they don't want to have to go through these bank arbiters or use Visa or whatever. I mean, you can't really use Visa to buy a car, but you can use Bitcoin if you have enough. And a lot of people out there actually do. And Tesla is saying that, hey, we've got 1.5 billion in Bitcoin, just holding on to it just in case for the future, a rainy day. But we'll also accept Bitcoin for cars. So they're producing something, they're accepting Bitcoin for it, and then it doesn't really affect their bottom line that much because they already have a lot just ready and wait.
So for those who are unsure of crypto and Bitcoin, say, and to see Elon not just take his personal money, but the money in his baby, right? Tesla's his company that he does so much with, and to use funds for that to actually make an investment. Pretty soon, people aren't going to be able to say, well, I'm not sure if I believe in this or trust it. It's going to be just a powerful way to do business.
Well, if you think about it, Bitcoin isn't backed by any country or corporation or anything, right? It's really backed by all the holders, all the people that actually have an amount of Bitcoin and that are openly trading it, right? Because the price that you can get it for is whatever someone's willing to sell it to you for, or however much you're willing to pay. And at some point, it kind of gets past you, and it just is whatever it is. I've seen a CNBC host say, why would you risk that much money on this situation? They're in a good spot. They've got $80 billion or something like that in the bank because this 1.5 is only 8%. So it's like they've got a lot of money out there ready to...
Almost $1 trillion company.
Yeah, a big company with
Yeah.
lots of big stock price even. And with cryptocurrencies gaining more prominence and more companies saying that they are willing to accept it, does give it a bit of backing on its own right. And when we're concerned about our monetary system as it is, it's not like it's the most stable thing in the world. I mean, even the dollar is fluctuating wildly these days. So to see Bitcoin kind of reach this point, it can kind of gain stability when enough people are using it.
So looking at how Elon is such a visionary, we've talked about space, going back to the moon, to Mars, and he's thinking, well, we're going to create the world's leading space exploration company, and we're going to make these things happen. They outpaced Boeing and Lockheed and others for these contracts, so they became the lead, working with NASA for these next steps. So he's done that with each area. Crypto, Just taking a step back where this recent challenge that we talked about in the podcast a week or two ago about Reddit and the shorting with GameStop, for people to come out and say it's the blockchain that can help solve that in the future, can you explain to those maybe
Yeah.
watching the podcast how blockchain could see that? Because that could be
Sure.
Elon's play. He could be looking long and thinking,
yeah.
well, I'm going to solve many issues with
Well,
Bitcoin.
so when you're looking at using blockchain as sort of a backing system, right? Because you can use the blockchain ledgers to prove who holds something, right? So if you can put these shares onto a blockchain where you don't have to use like a clearinghouse, and that's what some of these problems were, is that Robinhood had to have so much money as like free capital to cover all of these shares. But and that's just in case someone doesn't have it or comes up as, oh, well, we couldn't afford it. Well, if instead it's all locked up in a blockchain-based system where there is no chance of you not having it, it is just there. And so there are systems that look to decentralize that financial system where you're not using these main exchange arbiters to move the shares from person to person. It can be done automatically once a sale or purchase has gone through.
So for any potential shortages in the future, it can track those more closely and
Right.
note some trends that could be against historical processes.
You could possibly put limits on exactly how many it could be done, because that's some of this issue, is that like the total amount shorted went over the total amount of float that was out there. So they went over 120, 130. I've seen estimates over 170% shorted.
Wow.
So you have 70% more than there is actually available, and that's something that Bitcoin has solved. You can't have more Bitcoin than there is written into law, right? And that really can't be changed. And so if you have, there's only 100,000 shares, you can't go 110 traded because there's only that many available. And that could solve a lot of these problems, because right now it's separate systems that everyone is keeping track of, and it's a bunch of different ledgers, and these guys are making big bets all over the place. And it's not all clear and in the open. It's another thing that Bitcoin does well, actually, in a lot of ways, is that it is auditable. You can see the trail of where everything's gone and who has it.
Due to the blockchain.
Right, and I mean, even if, say, Tesla wanted to, they could reveal that Bitcoin account, like that wallet number, and everyone could look at it and see exactly how much they have and how much they sell or move at any point.
So that's exciting. That could be part of Elon's thought. Way before this whole Reddit shortage, GameStop process or unfortunate event, he was a believer in crypto and Bitcoin and was active in that market already. So maybe he's just saying now's the time, like we were talking earlier offline, to be ahead of the curve, because
Yes.
it's going to happen. And 43,000 per coin, that's a lot. It seems like we've already arrived, but maybe the future's going to be 300,000.
it's got a
If
lot
you look at
further
the
to go,
share of
possibly.
Berkshire Hathaway like
Yes.
their premium share, it's $350,000 for one share.
It's ridiculously high.
So Bitcoin there's really no ceiling for that type
Yeah,
of technology.
right. And the good thing there is that, that's Berkshire Hathaway A. They have their B shares, their C shares, or whatever. That's kind of like smaller down. Well,
Right.
with Bitcoin, you don't even have to do that. You can just break it out on your own.
Great. So important topic. Our previous topic really set the tone for what Elon did either last night or this morning. He just made
Yeah.
this purchase. So.
Right. I'm not sure exactly when Tesla made the purchase, because it actually had to go through the board. It's not just like Elon's own decision. He is a majority shareholder, right? So he's got the big vote, but there are other people that were on the board that also went with this decision thinking that it's a good idea.
That'd be a
So-
great job, being on the board with Elon, just being behind
Right.
closed doors. Even with Jeff Bezos, imagine the things they talk about.
Oh, the massive decisions that are made, right?
So some exciting topics that are keeping us going. Anything else that you're thinking of for us today?
Today, I'm not really sure.
So kind of a recap. We
There's
talked
a lot
about
of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. Talked about Jeff Bezos stepping down, which
Mm-hmm.
is exciting because he's given a nod to the cloud environment. The AWS executive is now going to be the CEO of the company. It's going to give him time to focus on other issues, other challenges. One in particular could be Blue Origin, the thought of maybe taking a bigger step into space. I know, looking at space, as we kind of wrap up our thoughts for this podcast today, that I think it's like in 2 years or so, it's fairly soon, is it 2024, that we're going to be back on the moon? I think SpaceX is going to be leading that effort, and then is it the early 2030s that will be on Mars? And I don't know. I think SpaceX is a leader for that too.
Yeah.
So Blue Origin might be seeing this is the future. You read many analysts and researchers say when they can get space down, there's asteroids out there that are just, you see
Yeah.
numbers, you don't even know how to quantify it, but $1 trillion investments to be able to mine
yeah.
these minerals.
There's huge asteroids filled with whatever mineral you could think of. It's anything you need. And I mean, space is going to need a lot of these materials, right? Because it's not all going to come from Earth. It's going to have to come from out there.
Right. So that's interesting with Amazon and that supports cloud. I know with some recent events, say in the political environment, with AWS having such a powerful stance and be able to influence Parler, for example.
Right.
People thought, well, maybe the cloud, they need to become more individualized and less, but I guess the cloud's here to stay, and you can't really partition off like you could in the old days.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And then looking at Elon's move with Tesla to actually, in this time when crypto's moving up,
Yeah.
thinking, well, we're going to act now. That could be a bigger thought of just how the blockchain can serve the financial community. And just how Tesla, looking at, I had a chance to buy before the most recent split, Apple and Tesla. And it's interesting that Apple stayed in the $120 per share or so, and Tesla has jumped up. The companies are apples and oranges, for their valuation. But looking at how Tesla's almost at 900, so it's interesting
Yeah.
to just see what happened and when they split about the same time.
It's a pretty interesting thing because with Apple, it's a company that's definitely already been established. I don't see Apple building out massive new factories on like 3 different continents because that's what Tesla is doing right now. They're building factories in Texas, they're building factories in China, and they're building factories in Germany. And Apple has kind of already done that, right? If you'd done Apple 10 years ago, it kind of would be Tesla in this position. So it's 2 technology companies, definitely, because Tesla is not just a car company. They're also putting Apple-like products into their cars. So it's a very good comparison.
I think people will need to listen to Elon when he talks about these topics, because if you look at the larger hedge funds, even Berkshire Hathaway, they own Apple. Foreign countries own Apple.
Yeah.
That's kind of a safe blue chip bet. So the thought now that if Tesla is becoming in that same ballpark, that's a lot of influence for Elon to talk about how we can change, mass transportation with boring into the ground and
Yes.
just these creative
Right.
ideas.
Which that's an interesting thing. I saw they're estimating they should be able to make a tunnel in Miami for like $30 million, which is very low for building a tunnel.
Now, did they actually get a contract? They're just talking with the
They're
city of
just
Miami.
in talks,
Okay.
right? So who knows how high it really will be.
Fascinating times, Jeremy.
It's very interesting for sure.
So great topics for us.
Like Elon says, Bitcoin is inevitable.
Who's going to argue with Elon? That's right.
Right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Bye.